If you think I know what I'm doing, I don't. Title card. Good morning, afternoon, or evening. Welcome back to my channel. If you're returning, you're probably not because nobody watches my videos, but that's all right. We're just getting started. Today, we have another book review. And what book you might be asking? Maybe it's in the thumbnail, maybe it's not. You'll know before I do. It's going to be none other than Ivanhoe by Walter Scott, Sir Walter Scott, actually. Now, this book is set in medieval times, but this handsome feller right here is Walter Scott. And being an Englishman, had a great appreciation for the medieval times of his country. The book itself was published in 1819, so only a couple years ago, but some say it's still relevant. There's been a couple movies made about it. I didn't watch them. Probably should have, but whatever. The book is obviously dated with the prose and the writing style. If you don't like books from this era, you probably will not enjoy this book. I mean, the amount of useless descriptions that I found while perusing the pages bored me. It took me a while to get through this book because, by God, it was rough. The story itself, though, actually fantastic. I was a little bit disappointed when I was getting towards the end of the book and in the middle of the book, but we'll maybe get into that. I don't know. This is a great story overall, minus the problems with the writing style that are just not modern. It takes a second to get used to, but once you actually start being able to understand the word usage and the writing style and everything that goes along with this book, then you'll be able to appreciate the actual content that is in the pages. So where do we start? On a road with a court jester, and a pig herder. Now they're approached by some men who are of obvious upper class, being that they are studded out to the teeth with jewelry and squires and attendants. But they come off in a little bit of a aristocratic sense, and our court jester and swineherdsman go ahead and point these guests in the wrong direction, away from the castle of their master. By sheer luck, they end up at the castle. And whose castle is it? It's Cedric the Saxon's castle. Now, this is the time of Richard the Lionheart, when the Saxons were being oppressed in their own country. But Cedric, he's a proud Saxon, and he loves this shit. But Cedric, unfortunately, has to play the games. So he accepts his guests with honor. The night goes along just fine. But in the morning, there's a plot. There's a plot to kill Isaac. Isaac's a Jewish man, and the Jews were very persecuted in this time. So Isaac gets helped out by a friend. Not a friend, just a friendly guy. Isaac gets led out of the castle and away from the danger, and he professes to want to help his friend for saving his life. So he offers this poor fellow a suit of armor and a horse. You aren't quite sure why, but you'll figure it out eventually. And everybody in the castle is about to head out to an event. What event, you might say? It's an event to show the knightly honor that the men of the nation can produce. Cedric, the attendants, everybody goes to this event, and Prince John is there presiding over the thing and just being pomp. Now, the underlying history of the time is that Richard the Lionheart is about to be freed and is about to come home and claim his nation once again from the prince. We'll get to that eventually and later. It isn't even really in the book, but that's kind of the underpinning of the historical situation at hand. So we're at this knighting event. We got jousting, we got archery, we got mock battles, and everything seems to be going as planned. However, there's a knight in shining armor, and he's good. He desaddles a knight by the name of Du Bois. Now, when he's going up to the prince to accept his victory, he refuses to remove his helmet. But he's able to accept his victory, even though the prince is a bit annoyed that he would not show his face. And the next day, we get into the mock battle. Now, of course, there's plenty of political commentary relevant to the time that I didn't really appreciate. Not that I thought that it was bad, but it just didn't hit on the same level that it would for contemporaries. That being as it is, the unnamed knight also goes on to win the mock battle. He has another victory. Now, when he goes to present the Queen of Beauty for the event that was selected the day prior, he collapses in front of her. But not before showing that he is the knight, Ivanhoe. Now, there's a great ruckus because Ivanhoe is Cedric the Saxon's son. The Queen of Beauty is a lady that stays with Cedric the Saxon and was raised alongside Ivanhoe. A ruckus ensues afterwards, and not before the prince is informed that Richard Lionheart is freed. So the events of the knighting events are cut short, and nobody knows where Ivanhoe went, but Cedric decides to take his ward and go back to his castle. Now, along the way to his castle, he runs into Isaac and Isaac's beautiful daughter. They have Ivanhoe with them, unbeknownst to Cedric, and they offer to see Isaac along his path and through the forest. So, what happens? They get attacked, and they get kidnapped, and they get thrown into cellars. Why? Because it's a fucking book, and I guess that shit happened. I don't know. They're going to be held for ransom. I didn't think that was legal, but I guess who gonna stop me? Whatever. Now, the swineherder and the jester were able to escape being captured. They are able to round up pretty much an army to besiege the castle. They besieged the shit out of the castle, and a couple of people, unfortunately, die in the process. Tragic. They weren't good guys though, so it's like, are you really sad about it? Not really. It happens. But where we go from here is the attendant of Ivanhoe, who had been healing him and keeping him safe during the entire process of this, was Isaac's daughter, Rebecca. And she is kidnapped at the end of the siege by none other than Du Bois. Unfortunately for her and Du Bois, when they arrive at the Templar stronghold, the main big dog Templar happen to be there, and not some sort of Templar that is okay with kidnapping women and stuff. No, he's pissed, and he wants to know how this happened. Well, Du Bois, of course, he was bewitched. He was certainly not acting of his own volition. The woman had bewitched him. She bewitched him and convinced him to kidnap her or something. Well, of course, he's a Templar Knight. He couldn't have done this of his own volition. So, unfortunately, our Rowena has to be put on trial for witchcraft, which she promptly loses. But Du Bois, out of the goodness of his heart, tells her to go ahead and ask for a trial by combat. Why? Because fucking book, dude. All right? Unfortunately, Du Bois is the one who has to combat her sponsor. So, interesting, but whatever. Ivanhoe gets word of this, and he immediately starts off for the castle. Ivanhoe is not completely healed yet, but he can ride a horse. So he gets to the castle, and he fucks some shit up, and puts Du Bois' body in the ground. And that's pretty much it. I mean, look, I skipped over pretty much every single side plot line and plenty of interesting characters and dialogue and a lot of things that are fun about this book. It's not a tiny book. I mean, it's about 450 pages ish. Yeah, something like that. It's a good story, and I didn't really enjoy reading it. But I am glad that I did read it because I enjoyed the story. I did not enjoy the process, and it took me far too long to read it. This copy is pretty badass, so, being like, I read this book, tits, or, something like that. Yeah, I mean, if you want to read it, there's probably a modern retelling. There's movies. I'm not going to say it's worth a read. Story-wise, I'd give it 3 stars. Obviously, it's old. It was probably, a very original idea at the time, but now 3 stars. Writing-wise, 1.5, 2 stars. Yeah. So I don't really have anything else for you. Donate to your local dog shelter. Donate to the homeless shelter. Go pet the dogs. Spend your time with them. Don't pet the homeless. It's weird. And I'll see you next time.